military-grade technology slams you with 5G force as you ascend skyward. Then weightlessness teases before you plummet straight back down to Earth. Meet the world's fastest thrill ride, the roller coaster called Kingda at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey.
Nowhere else on this planet are you going to get a ride that launches you from 0 to 128 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds.
Kingda's radical design was originally conceived in the digital realm.
Ride design is so advanced now that once we've determined the style of ride that we want and we determine the area where we want to put this ride, we can generate everything within the computer.
Building the huge ride proved as challenging as its design was daring.
Weather plays such an important role in doing construction, particularly in the winter. One that may have been somewhat unforeseen in building this ride is the wind. You have two 500-foot cranes that are putting this ride up. The wind at 500 feet is obviously much higher than the wind on the ground. So on days when it might not even seem that windy, you can't actually fly steel because the wind is too high and the cranes cannot operate.
One of Kingda's most remarkable features is its breathtaking acceleration. The technology was borrowed from the launch deck of an aircraft carrier.
Here we are in the hydraulic building, the heart of Kingda. This is where we drive the coaster at 128 miles per hour. The driving force behind Kingda is hydraulic fluid. The launching system is done with 8 500 horsepower motors that charge giant accumulators with hydraulic fluid. This fluid is pressurized much the same way that you might blow up a balloon. When the launch occurs, it's the same as letting that balloon go. That energy is released.
That immense energy powers hydraulic motors that spin a huge winch, around which a cable runs. Attached to the end of the cable is a catch car that actually hurls the ride down the track. Once the catch car gets up to speed, it releases and the ride continues on its own.
It takes just 10 seconds from the time the train is launched to when you are 456 feet on top of that tower.
Hurtling straight down the huge tower, the ride again rockets to over 100 miles per hour. Riders actually experience another period of weightlessness as it crests another hill. Then it's time to bring this blazing meteor to a stop. For that, Kingda employs a unique braking system.
The braking system on Kingda is done mainly with eddy current brakes. And zero contact. So there is no friction that occurs between the brake fin and the brake itself. It's all done through magnetic fields. So you hit the brakes and you're still probably screaming, catching your breath, and the train kind of coasts back into the station.
Roller coasters have always tested our nerves and our stomachs. But Kingda's ancestors can barely be called thrill rides anymore.
The first roller coaster in the United States was built in Coney Island, New York in 1884. It ran approximately 8 miles per hour. The passengers would have to disembark the train, push it up to another deck so that it could make the return trip back.
Changes came fast after the success of that first thriller.
They decided that it was impractical for passengers to push the train, so they found a simple cable lift system that developed into the chain lift systems that we're familiar with today.
By the Roaring 20s, roller coasters could be found in almost every state in the Union. Some of the most famous coasters ever ridden came from this era, including the Cyclone at Coney Island.
The Coney Island Cyclone is the most famous amusement ride in history. It still delivers a punch just as severe as any modern roller coaster.
The giants of this era were still made of latticed wood, just like their earliest predecessors. But that too would eventually change.
It wasn't until theme parks came along in the late 50s, they decided, okay, let's try steel as a material.
The first all-steel coaster took shape at the first modern-day American theme park.
The first metal roller coaster, as we know them, that actually worked and actually still runs is the Matterhorn at Disneyland.
Suddenly, by using steel, there were all kinds of new possibilities.
They realized we can go upside down with this. We can get faster, we can get bigger, and that's exactly what they did.
Since then, there have been no holds barred in the design and velocity of new so-called supercoasters, which have carried riders to new, unprecedented thrills. But they all pale next to the new speed champ, the 128-mile-an-hour beast they call Kingda.
I love this ride. Sometimes at work, I just take a little break, go out, jump on the ride, and back to work.
Really is a religious experience.